Yeah.
Oh, yes, indeed. We have the NARD president with us here in our studios in Abuja, Dr. Ilawa. Okay. Thank you so much for helping me out then.
Good morning,
Dr. Ilawa Okwaesi is here with us in the studios.
Good morning, Maokbe.
Good morning, Doc. It's good to see you. You were hoping at some point that this strike will be the strike that will end all strikes.
Yes.
Would you say that this strike has achieved that particular purpose?
Well, good morning, Nigerians. I'll go back to the basis. We had some demands in our communique to the federal government, and I'll break all down. For the demands on the House Officers' payment, we've achieved at least about 75% to 80%. Some of the House Officers have been paid, although we had some irregularities with the payments, starting from those that had multiple payments, those that had problems with their folio number, those that their bank account did not tally with them. The minister and the Honorable Bajamila, through Dr. Tanko Sununu, set up a committee of 5 members, with whom our financial secretary, Dr. Okeke, was among them, and they worked throughout the weekend. As it stands, about 239 will receive their salary payment this morning.
239 of your members?
We received from this morning, because they worked with the IPs and the MDCN. Then the other ones will get theirs from tomorrow and next, for the failed ones. For the members on GiftMix, we're able to achieve for them a migration to the IPs platform, which is expected to end and to be completed by April ending. And also that their salaries have been investigated, and payment of them will start from next tomorrow. That's what we achieved for those on GiftMix platform. For the members on for the Medical Resident Training Fund, we had about 558 that were paid erroneously. I need to make some corrections, because from the House of Rep, they said about 308 members had monies. They were erroneously paid, and we have since sought a bank account since 20th of December for them to make refunds, and they are willing to all make refunds. But however, about 1,003 members were not paid, and those the House of Rep and House of Rep under the supervision of Femi Bajamila and Tanko Sununu, and also with Dr. Chris Ngige, of Minister of Labour, have asked that the money be put into a supplementary budget that will be submitted to the ministry for payment to be made onwards. And also the National Postgraduate College, who's in charge as a regulatory body for them, have been told to submit the list for the 2021 Medical Resident Training Fund to the Ministry of Health and copy the IP's office for onward payment. So those are some of the gains we have gained with the strike.
So in other words, you have gained something significant.
We have gained something significant.
But it's still not enough to end all strikes.
It may not be enough to end off strike. Because as it speaks, there's a meeting that is going to hold concerning the 5,000 Naira hazard allowance today, and with other health workers on Wednesday. That is one aspect that is still floating. And doctors don't just decide that, it involves every other person. Even though we clamored that every health worker deserves to have the hazard allowance reviewed. So that we still have to go for, and we hope that the government will be sincere and be honorable to acknowledge the MOA signed. For those that members were lost to the COVID-19, 17 members were lost. We have been able to reach an agreement that the doctors involved and the health workers involved should be able to make claims to the so that they can benefit from the insurance, group insurance. So as it stands, the chief medical directors were directed to take the forms to the hospitals, give the desk officers, and we with our members and other health workers should go and fill the forms and send it back to the Ministry of Health, and there they'll be able to benefit from the insurance, death and service insurance.
So all of this came as a result of the strike which you embarked upon?
Yes.
Do you think that otherwise you would have been listened to if you did not embark on a strike?
I don't think so. Because as it stands, for the insurance, it has been there for over 9 months. Some as much as 5 years ago. Because we're not just talking about COVID-19. There's Lassa fever, there's HIV. There are other people that have had some complications due to other illness and the hazards they face. And there have been insurance companies, not even now. If we didn't go on this strike, we will not be able to have achieved this. If we didn't go on this strike, we will not be able to achieve the review of the hazard allowance, proposed review of hazard allowance. If we didn't go on this strike, we won't be able to tell us that we should be able to go and make a supplementary budget for those that have not been paid the Medical Resident Training Fund. If not for this strike, the 2021 would not be factored in for payment to residents.
So I'm wondering, did you raise this particular issue? For a lot of Nigerians, this is the biggest issue. The fact that you have to embark on a strike to get grievances, legitimate grievances, heard. That, for a lot of Nigerians, is the biggest issue, because the strike of doctors comes at a huge cost for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think the main problem I find in the system is people that are not honorable, people that do not want to really work. They sit down in their offices, just stay there. You negotiate with them and come out to some memorandum of understandings or MOU or MOA, and they do not honor it. We are calling off the strike now, but most of our members are disappointed with the terms of why are we not extending it. We are calling it off because we want to be seen as a responsible organization. We want to be seen as being patriotic to Nigerians. We want to be seen that we still care for our patients and for Nigerians generally. All we have tried to achieve in this strike that lasted for 10 days is to make Nigerians, government, to be more responsible, to take the health of Nigerians, to not take it for granted. And we have been able to throw more light on them, thankfully, because of your station.
Is it the health of Nigerians now, the welfare of doctors?
The health of Nigerians also matters. Because if you are able to tell them that you can get the best facilities in Nigeria, you can have functional places like functional MRIs, CT scan.
That's not why you went on strike. You didn't go on strike because of the health of Nigeria.
If you go back to...
You went on strike because of the welfare of your members.
It's part of it. But if you check the mottos and the reasons of last year, part of the reasons we went on strike were the infrastructural decay that have been in the system. We told you then that you can not go to any hospital, most hospitals in Nigeria, where you can see functional basic equipment that are supposed to be there, which was part of the mottos, which is, I think, number 12 of our mottos in our communique. But you know that also if you are hungry, it leads you to some things that you do not expect. Most of the house officers and most of the resident members on GIFMIX are actually not happy with me now for calling off the strike. But if you can get a commitment for payments to be made in the next few days, and you weigh the balance of either continuing the strike or trying to protect your own members and also take Nigerians into considerations, you have to balance it to get the best outcome.
Indeed, that's why I'm trying to say that at the end of the day, the bottom line, the biggest issue, even if you say yes, the part of it is the health of Nigerians, by extension, yes, if our doctors are not catered for, I mean, automatically it will affect their own health because they are Nigerians as well, and it will also affect the health of their patients, because an unhappy doctor, nobody likes to meet an unhappy doctor.
Yes, that's why we went to, I spoke to you earlier on the oath. I told that the oath is broken down into 4 parts. The first part is our responsibility to the patient generally. Second part is the responsibility to the society. Third part is the responsibility to our colleagues. And the fourth part is the responsibility to ourselves. So going by the oath,
which you're always told to remember every time you go on strike.
So if the fourth part, the responsibility for ourselves, is met, that means the first and second part, which is the responsibility to the patients and to the society, That is where the balance comes in. If we're able to get members to be paid their salaries, means it's part of the welfare. If we're able to give members a good hazard allowance package, it's a good it's for our own welfare. If we are able to achieve the death insurance benefits to those who have lost to their loved ones, that is our own welfare. That gives us a reason why we want to stay in our country. Those are ways you are able to prevent the brainstorm that is happening in the health sector. So welfare of our members is also very important.
Indeed, and I don't think anyone would debate that. I mean, the only reason, the only worry is that the underlying issue of you having to go on strike to get what it is that legitimately yours. Did you bring up this issue, and how was it responded to?
I will actually at this time want to thank the Honorable Speaker of the House, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, and the Committee Chairman on Health, Dr. Tanko Sununu. They have gone a long way to help us to have faith in the system. He was instrumental to our being paid the Medical Research and Training Fund of 2020. And it's also been instrumental to helping us to achieve for those that have not been paid. So we have been given a leap of faith to believe in the system, and we hope and pray that the system don't fail us. But if it fails us, we don't have a choice but to call a meeting in the next 4 weeks, which is the timeline we give for this strike action that was suspended. And we may not hopefully go on strike. But if these demands are not met in 4 weeks' time, I think it will go back to us going on an indefinite strike again.
Well, we sincerely hope that doesn't happen.
I hope so too.
I mean, because you talked about people hoping to be paid this morning, as soon as this morning, yes, and as soon as tomorrow, and I think some other people will be attended to on Wednesday as well.
Wednesday, those on GIFMIX.
Yeah, so we're hoping that all of these commitments that have been made and secured, will be lived up to. And I want to believe that the Minister for Health will be one of the biggest champions of the causes that you people are already on as well. But moving on now, what more? I mean, assuming the hazard allowance, which you're also hoping to negotiate, I think in the course of this week as well.
Today, Monday and Wednesday.
What are you demanding for hazard allowance? What do you want it to be reviewed up from? Because some people will say it's in the nature of your job that you always come across hazards. It's just the way medicine is evolving these days. Look at COVID-19. No one thought that this was going to happen, for instance. And really nothing will be enough to compensate you for the hazards which you will come across. What would you say to that?
I'll give you some certain examples. We have 2 of our colleagues now that have end-stage renal failure. And the least amount of money for them to have a renal transplant ranges from about 5 million to 10 million. That means with our basic salary of less than 3 million naira every year, we have to need people to help donate for them to have treatment and to have a chance to survive. I'll give you another example. There's a colleague of ours recently, some few days back, had a road traffic accident, and she may need to have a total knee replacement and need to have surgery, and she's not able to actually afford the surgery because first she has not even been paid and cannot hardly even feed. So going back to it now, what we have asked for is just at least 50% of the basic allowance, which yields between maybe 50 to 100.
No, the issues you have raised now are 2 different issues. You've talked about health issues that your colleagues have. I mean, yes, and people will tell you that this can happen in any sector. But we're talking about something that could come up as a result of something you do on your job.
I'm going there.
On a daily basis.
I'm going there.
What you've raised, what some people will say, well, will have to do with health insurance, more or less.
For you to have renal failure, it depends on what you're exposed to. 1, you can be exposed to drugs. 2, it can be complications of even COVID-19. it can be a complication of Lassa fever. In Lassa fever, it affects virtually every system of the body. And at a stage, it leads to renal failure, which is part of an hazard you can get from being exposed to Lassa fever.
Unless it's proven that that's what
it has been proven. They are documented.
No, what I mean is, unless this particular situation is proven that indeed it was because this person came in touch with a Lassa fever patient, and that's why the person got... Do you understand what I'm trying to say? To be able to draw a direct link between what happened to a doctor, you know, while on the course of his or her job, rather than maybe something that happened as a result of, you know, decisions.
Let me give you some examples. If you go to the COVID-19, as I said earlier, we had 17 patients, 1,824 patient, members that were infected. And you also agree with me that we have cried and felt sad about the 17 people that died. Of the 1,824 that were infected, also had other complications. And if you go, you tend to search for the complications of COVID-19. It ranges also, can give you renal failure, can give you basic range of so many other things.
Indeed.
So those are the part of the hazards that we are made to face. And you have to tell us that if you are paid 5,000 naira that barely can treat malaria, and it now leads to maybe renal failure or kidney and other complications, what would that 5,000 naira do for you? It's a basic thing.
So do you think that, in your opinion, do you think that a hazard allowance is what will cut it, or do you think that it should be something more holistic and more comprehensive, like a comprehensive health insurance plan for doctors?
Thank you.
Which do you think will work better?
A comprehensive health insurance will be much more important than the hazard allowance, because it's actually factored into it. If you check the National Health Insurance Scheme that is being used in Nigeria for all health workers generally, you find out that they do not pay for major surgeries. They do not pay for things like good drugs, like Augmentin. You know that in different times when we fall ill, there are certain drugs we can actually use. They do not even pay for the immunizations, for those immunizations for our own children less than 5. So fine. But if you go abroad, in the US, in the United Kingdom, in Canada, you find out as part of a welfare package for all health workers there, is a functional insurance scheme. It's a scheme that can take care of a knee replacement when you get old. It's a scheme that can take care of cancer treatment when you get infected with cancer. Do
you think that, you know, maybe your agitation should then be, you know, revised to, instead of a hazard allowance, which some people would just say, oh, you're just looking for a stylish salary increment?
No, that's why it's part of the premium of the insurance, which I said earlier. Yeah. Because the premium insurance, the group insurance we said, also covers for all this. And it's part of what we are asking for.
Okay, let me flip this to Lagos now. I understand my colleagues have questions for you. Kaide.
Well, thank you, Mark. Dr. Kwaisi, when you said that some of your members, or at least people on GIFMIS, are not happy with you for calling off the strike, I just wanted to get that clear. I thought it was the NEC that decided that this strike be suspended. Was it you or the NEC? And if it was the NEC, didn't the NEC factor in everybody's emotions or everybody's agitation before saying, well, let's suspend this for the time being?
I think, let me make it clear now. The issue of the GIFMIS platform is a platform for payment for non-regular salaries. And at this extent, there's a ratio between clinical workers and non-clinical workers in the hospital environment. And the ratio is about 3 clinical workers to 1 non-clinical health worker. As it stands, in most of the GIFMIS platform, it has been found out that the non-clinical workers are being made in a ratio of like 5 to 1, meaning that more non-clinical workers are employed instead of the clinical workers. So what the government found out that most of those lists were overblotted. And for them to just go to pay for those ones on GIFMIS, they have to investigate it. They asked us to give them 12 days which as of today is remaining 2 days left. The names of those people on gift mix have been sent to the budget office. They are verifying those names with the ones from the chief medical directors and the one from the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors. Until that is met, you expect government to want to pay the salaries yet. Remember, the strike was agreed on by the National Executive Council, which most of the local chapters are members there. But for us being leaders, we have to always balance it. We can't keep Nigerians and deny them of their health care when some institutions are being investigated. And based on the promises made to us by government, it's telling us that in the next 2 days,
right,
they would have finished investigations and payment will be agreed on.
Well, I just wanted to be clear on who...
the benefit of doubt.
Right, I just wanted to be clear on that part where you said they are angry with you for calling off or suspending the strike. I just wanted to know who actually suspended. Was it you or NEC?
Part of our
no, the question is, was it you that suspended the strike or the NEC?
Would be paid before calling off the strike.
Dr. Kwaisi, I don't know if you can hear me.
So they are telling us that we didn't follow that up.
I understand. I just want to be clear. Just a moment, Dr. Kwaisi. Just to be clear, was this decision to suspend the strike, was it taken unilaterally by you or by the National Executive Council of your body?
We had an Executive Council meeting on Saturday, which lasted for about 8 hours. And on that, it was put to vote after giving them what was brought for us on the MOA. And it was unanimously agreed that the strike should be suspended for 4 weeks.
Right. So speaking of the MOA, was any new memorandum of understanding MOA agreed upon at this latest meeting, or you still relied on the one that came out of the meeting on March the 31st?
No, and addendum was added to it because they found out that they needed some to be immediate, intermediate, and for a later date. For the immediate ones were for the payments of the house officers that are left that have not been paid, the failed transactions, those ones that had wrong account numbers, those were immediate. And that immediate was the that for the payment of the gift mix platform. Those were immediate. They were not in the former timeline. Also, for the hazard allowance, it was said that they were going to give us 5 weeks. But because of the why we stood and said we needed a better timeline, it was brought down to on Monday today and on Wednesday, on Wednesday for them everybody to meet up together. Those are things that were added to the former MOA we signed earlier.
So still a lot of areas to actually cover, just so we ensure that this is at least done and dusted with to a large extent. But we'll go to break, and when we return, we'll deal with those issues. Please stay with us. Oh, yeah, welcome back. My colleague Ayo has a question for you.
Yeah, Dr. Kwaisi, part of your demands put out when you called the strike was for the sack of the MDCN registrar. Has that been achieved?
No, the sack of the MDCN registrar have not been achieved. And I still go back to what we said earlier. If the system is not functioning well, you have to look for the primary cause and remove the primary cause. The MDCN registrar has failed in every way. He has failed in trying to register doctors. I know he does not even know the amount of doctors in Nigeria. He came on air that day and said medicines like paramilitary and their seniority. You don't ask for seniority to be able to work well. If the head is not doing his own job, he should be removed. I'll give examples for this. You have been given over 4 years to make the central placement of the house officers to work. As it stands, the central placement only accounts for those in federal hospitals. Those in state hospitals do not even have any house officer that wants to go there. That's one. Two, you were supposed to profile the house officers and give them a professional license. But as it stands, most of us registered for our license some months back, December ending, and up till now, nobody has the license. So we stated that we need him to be removed. But the government are asking that we give them time. I'm aware that the House of Rep member moved a motion, and it was agreed on by the House of Rep that the MDCN will be investigated for a 5-year period, and the investigation starts in 6 weeks' time. So we'll wait for the judgment of for them to investigate him, and they will tell the public and tell Nigerians if he really deserves to stay at his workplace or not.
Well, I expect that a representative of the MDCN was at that meeting between you and the federal government. But, you know, speaking with the MDCN registrar just last week, he spoke about the central placement which you referenced, saying that, well, it was approved by FEC years ago, but it wasn't included in the budget until 2021. Is that something you're aware of?
I think it's also his failure. Because if you are the registrar of MDCN, you should have a budget for all house officers. All over the country, we have about 3,500 house officers. And those in the federal tertiary institutions is about 2,136 from us. A budget was made for all of them, which was part of the reasons why the central placement was asked for. And if you have had the budget then was 12 billion, and you are aware that 5.7 billion was released by the federal government. If you are responsible, you should be able to know that that is going to give you some bottlenecks, and you'd have had a template to tell the government that this will not work, and factor it into the process and make the process work. So he failed, first of all, because first he had no template of long-term plan or even short-term plan for the central placement of the house officers. He had no template to show that the state and those that work in the military and paramilitary also are part of those being intern that have to go into training. He had no template of those knowing that their payments will be made. Because if he had a template then, we shouldn't be having bottlenecks on their folio number. We shouldn't be having bottlenecks on their account number. We shouldn't be having bottlenecks of them paid multiple times. Those are why I told you that he needs to be investigated, and they need to put more competent hands that can manage the system.
So just one
better.
more thing on that issue, because when we hosted the MDCN registrar, one of the things he also said was that he interfaces with your members, with resident doctors, through the chief medical directors of the various hospitals, and that if there is any lacuna, it is not from him, his office, the MDCN registrar, to the resident doctors, but through the chief medical directors. In what way would you say the chief medical directors are culpable in this matter or not?
The chief medical directors have a place and a part to play in this makeup. The chief medical directors know first that you have to have reaccreditation of your centers. That's why I made mention of the center in Abakaliki that had a quota of 12 house officers over 5 years back, and they have not gone for reaccreditation. So the question to ask is, how many of these chief medical directors have asked that the MDCN should come and reaccredit them? That is one. Two, when we compare the list we sent to, we brought to the negotiating table, we found out that for federal teaching hospitals, it was about 2,136. Why the one that came from the chief medical directors was over 4,000. So that is why when the House of Rep members said that the list was overblotted, It was indeed overblotted. Because some of the house officers have left the institution and have gone to better places. I'll give you an example. One left Lut and went to National Hospital, Abuja here. The list they were submitting still had the name of that person that worked in Lut in the same name. So the names were all in Lut and in National Hospital. Those are things that are avoidable, and those are things you need to correct. So yes, I will still blame the MDC, the chief medical directors, that most of them did not do their part. But also you need to have, in an organized system, you have to run a program. If you had 4 years since 2017 to run a program for this central placing, you should have at least had a template. You should have a computer-based structure where you can feed in any name in the system and tells you, that gives you an alert that this person has been paid before. You shouldn't be out of trying to wrong a system or make a system right and now end up paying them double salaries. And you are telling us that it's the doctors that are at fault. The doctors are not at fault at this stage. It's the MDCN, because if he did not check his system well, if he does not have a system that checks if there are multiple payments, it's a failure on his own part. So he needs to go back and do a proper template. He needs to know that there are softwares all over the world. We're not in the analog age. It's digital. You just need to write a program and tell us that if this name I've showed before, if this account number I've showed before, you prompt it and tell them they have to do a double check, which is how they have failed. And now you're telling us that the house officers have to be punished. You can't punish somebody that didn't do any crime when you did not do your own part of it at all.
Well, even though he said that there's fraud in that system, of which he cannot be blamed. But the fourth item on your resolution requests that medical training be removed from the concurrent list. That is where the National Assembly comes in, if I'm correct on that one. Can that be achieved within this 4-week window for which the strike was suspended for?
The Medical Resident Training Fund is a fund that helps to allow any resident in training to have his 2 or 4 updates, to have paid for his exam fees, to go for exams in places like in UCH and National Hospital here. Our members are made to travel all over the world in, between April and May, which they are doing now.
Can that be achieved within 4 weeks for which you suspended the strike?
It was not in the budget. It was, and we were able to achieve the part of the Resident Training Fund by the intervention of the Honorable Speaker of the House and Dr. Femi Gbajabiamila, who helped to lobby for the 4 billion naira paid that was meant to pay for the Resident Training Fund. But however, in that payment, there was an error made because the actual money budgeted for that payment was 4.4 billion naira, and 4 billion was released. That meant that over 1,300 members still have not been paid. We also noticed that based on the checks and balances that 558 people were paid in error. As of December 20th last year, we have written to the Federal Ministry of Health and the the Attorney General's office, telling them that members were paid in error, and members are willing to return the money back, and that an account number should be provided. Till this strike, some few days back, no account number was released from them. Through the intervention of the Honorable Speaker again, he has told us that those ones that were omitted from the Medical Resident Training Fund for 2020, we are going to be, the supplementary budget will be made for them and they will be paid. Through the House of Minister of the Speaker of the House also, the National Postgraduate College have been mandated to provide a list for the Medical Resident Training Fund for 2021, and so that they can effect the payments for them this by the next few months. So those are what the strike have achieved, and we hope that based on the honor we are giving the Honorable Speaker of the House, those things will be made available to all members.
Well, we are sincerely hoping that indeed that, the commitments that have been made, will it eventually be achieved, that we will be able to get by the end of today and tomorrow and Wednesday, you know, some of the timelines which you have already stated, that indeed what has been promised to be, you know, fulfilled for your members, and that the discussions on hazard allowance would also move very smoothly, and that at the end of review of 4 weeks, you will see no need to go on an indefinite strike action again. We have to say thank you for coming on Sunrise Elite this morning. Dr. Ilawa Okwayesi is the president of the National Association of Resident Doctors, and he's been speaking with us here in our Abuja studios. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll have other issues for you. Please stay tuned.
All right, welcome back. Yes, indeed, that is what we're focusing on next. We've got Major General Obi Umahi joining us this morning, the former GOC 81 Div and the Chairman Southeast Security Committee. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. Well, the last time we spoke, yeah, you had said that the Southeast Zone was the most secure in the country, and as though some heard you, and then it went awry in the region, given what and how things played out in Imo and are still playing out. But then you had also said that the governors had concluded plans to set up a security outfit, and now they've announced Ibeago at the moment. So from your understanding, could you let us into what this entails? Because there are several processes that many thought they were going to put in place before this announcement. What has been done in terms of how this is going to be operationalized?
Thank you, Chamberlain. I think there was a committee earlier that included the attorney generals of the 5 Southeast states that came up with a framework. And the governors have studied this framework over time before concluding on the veracity of making the announcement they made in Owerri some days ago. So I think the next thing they need to do is to get the states' assemblies to promulgate a law concerning this particular outfit. And once that is done, then everything will roll out.
The time that was taken before this was announced, many thought that that end of the whole thing was what was being sorted before this announcement, but it appears not. Does that then suggest or mean that their hands were forced as a result of what was playing out in the region? They needed to just do something such that they're seen to be responding to the security threats?
Number one, responding to security threat is one. Secondly, there is, I guess there was so much that went in at the background, like issues of security are not rushed into. There was some level of diplomatic networking that the governors needed to do to be on the same page. And I guess that they feel they have satisfied all they needed to know to work together. And that is why they roll this out. I don't think it's because someone forced their hand somewhere, but they are reading the situation like other people. They are reading the security situation in the Southeast, and they feel that the alert has been raised, so they needed to act, and they have acted promptly.
You said the attorney generals are working, just to ensure that the legal details are finalized alongside the state assemblies. Doesn't that then mean that until that is done, this announcement will be just that, an announcement?
No, I guess certain things will be working pari passu. There are things that can be going on simultaneously. So while the attorney generals are fine-tuning the bills to submit in the state assemblies, and I guess because the state assemblies are part of the society, they're part of the system, so that wouldn't give them it wouldn't take them a lot of time to come up with a law.
But from your understanding, why does it have to take so much for the state assemblies to just finalize this? It's been a while.
I said that one thing you can give to the governor is that they may have been networking in order to reach common ground on all issues. You know, issues of security are a little bit sensitive. And again, consider the fact that the governors of the Southeast have they have contributed so much in the stability of the polity of the nation by withholding some action, by doing one thing or the other, in order to help the stability of this nation. I guess that all this add up to this, what they call, someone may call delay, but I don't think, strategically speaking, that it was a delay. I think so many things were going on at the background that were not known to many, and that is why they are acting at this particular time.
Well, on the one hand, just as you said, the attorneys general of the 5 states are working on a document, but on the other hand, what we understand is it's a joint security outfit. Does that mean that it's just one central coordinating organization that is in charge of security in the entire southeastern states? Is it that southeastern Ibubiagu, or is Ibubiagu in each of the different states?
I know it's Ibubiagu in each of the different states. There will be a central command and coordinating center that will help to share information, that will help to acquire some security assets as may be permitted by the federal government. Such assets may be difficult, financially speaking, for one state to acquire. But when all the 5 states come together, they will be able, economically speaking, to acquire such equipment with the approval of the federal government. So there will be a central command and coordinating center, but each of the states will be responsible for the security of their various states. Without prejudice to this, the security, the vigilante in Enugu State could support that of Ebonyi State. Ebonyi State could support that of Abia. Just the same. Should there be any need for such support? Yes. But specifically speaking, the coordinating center will be doing some stuff like security awareness, like information sharing, like passing some like alarm system. It will be controlled from the center, which the governors have stated will be located at Enugu.
Does that support entail that the vigilante in Ebonyi can cross into Owerri?
Oh yes, why not? We are the same. It's just artificial boundaries that separated us. Otherwise, we are the same people.
Interesting, General, but one of the things that raises a question on my mind, and I'm pretty sure that we'll take this when we return from the break after you began this conversation, is have we been able to track the reasons, the causes of the upsurge of insecurity in the Southeast now, which necessitated this action of the governors?
Why not? We have all been watching developments in the security sector, and especially as it affects the Southeast. In the past, Southeast was the most secure, the most peaceful region in the entire country. But like we all know, there was recent attack in Ebonyi State, Egedegede, by herdsmen, attack in Enugu, and then the correctional center jailbreak, and burning of police headquarters at Owerri. So all these have raised the security alerts in the southeast, warranting the governors to take the action they have just taken to set up this security framework for the southeast.
We'll continue this conversation in just a moment. Please stay with us.
Well, thanks for staying with us. General, before we go to those other issues, perhaps there are a number of things that people need to understand about exactly the nature and the shape that Ebubeagụ is going to take.
Oh, well, like I earlier said, there will be a command and control center at its headquarters at Enugu. And each of the states will have their Ebubeagụ structured in a way that could aid mobilization, quick mobilization, deployment, and operations. So that structure in each state will be replicated in all other states, but each state will be able to carry out health security duties, doing everything possible to ensure security in coordination with the federal security agencies. So, as Ebonyi State is doing its own, Enugu is doing its own, Imo, Abia, Anambra, that will be going on simultaneously. And the center will help to pass information, will help to develop a good alarm system that can be used in all the states. Like I said earlier, the coordinating center will also help to operate some equipment that can only be centralized for the entire Southeast. So each state will still operate on its own, but there could be an overlap. There could be a support if the need arises.
For a lot of people, they remember Amotekun. I mean, as soon as they heard Ebubeagụ. Is this similar in any way to Amotekun?
Well, yes, similar in some ways. You know, the truth is that Amotekun, as it stands now, does not have a central command and control center. And I do not know whether they share information. And I have not heard of cross-border support in their Amotekun operations. But this is going to be the case in that of Southeast Security Outfit. And that tells you that a lot of time has been spent, some details worked out, put into it. Through the period, people felt it was a period of inaction. There were actions going on through this period to fine-tune, to be on the same page on virtually all issues, so that the operation as it is rolled out will be seamless.
Right. I mean, the timing of this is quite interesting. Just a few days after the nation got a new acting IGP. And I recall that the Southeast governors had meetings time and again with the former IGP. So let me just first ask, to what extent is the new acting IGP being carried along in this whole process?
Well, that is a very interesting question. Thank you very much. Let me tell you that, unlike in the past, the governors of today have been doing what I can call diplomatic politicking. So, because they believe in the Nigerian project, they believe that we are better off staying together as one big Nigeria than going into splinters. They have been doing everything to contribute their quota in retaining the peace and unity of this nation. So they have not been involved in statements to overheat the system. But that is not to say that they have not been fully concerned with the security of the Southeast. What they have achieved is that they have used penetration, networking, and diplomacy to gain support for Southeast security framework from the police, from the security agencies, from the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Because these agencies, the federal government, they have seen the need for regional security outfit. After all, the joint security of civilian joint security in the Northeast, it's all about this same thing. And the federal government has helped to sponsor them, integrated them into what they are doing to fight terrorism in the Northeast. So I guess the federal government have seen the need for various regional security outfits. They are not against it. And I give kudos to the governors for the networking they did, for the diplomatic penetration they carried out in order not to be at loggerheads and have a level of misunderstanding with the federal government. Everybody supports that security in one part of Nigeria is security for the whole nation. I guess there is nobody who is against the security outfit of the Southeast.
Well, I just heard you say you guess, and I was trying to just get a clear response. Specifically, is the new acting IGP, is he in on this? Has he given some sort of, a nod to this? Is he saying, I will support this initiative? Yes, it's good for the whole nation and for the region, but I will support it. Is that what you're getting from him?
That's what the governors have extracted.
From the new acting IGP, you mean?
From the entire security agencies.
Okay, so that's to say that the new acting IGP is not involved with this directly.
I am not saying that. I said the Southeast governors have extracted support. In any case, because what the regional security is doing is to help, to support the federal security agencies to succeed in their constitutional roles. I think every misunderstanding has been based on lack of understanding of the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Constitution says that the governor is the chief security officer of his state. And that implies that every governor can employ every constitutional means, every legitimate means to ensure that there is security in his state. More so because the federal security agencies are not under the governors. So the governors must make their own local arrangements to provide security to meet up the responsibilities that the Constitution has conferred on them, which the people, as a matter of fact, are expecting them without any precondition to meet. So I think there is just this lack of understanding of the Constitution and what responsibilities the Constitution has conferred on the governors.
Because, there was that argument as well that the law does not permit them to come up with a regional security outfit, but that the states can legislate and work as such. But you're saying they've extracted that commitment, support for a regional security outfit. Is that right?
There is no law in the Nigerian books and in the Constitution that says that states cannot cooperate to achieve legitimate end. States can cooperate in the area of agriculture. They can cooperate in the area of various of industrial development. They can cooperate. They can cooperate in the area of development of transportation. So why can they not cooperate in the area of security, which has overarching importance to the lives and livelihood of the people?
Would it be out of place to say that Ebibago will effectively put to bed the option or the notion of community policing, because this, from the look of things, may end up being closer to the people than the community policing initiative that the police was working on?
No, I rather think that it will enhance the operations of community policing. What is community policing about? It is about being close to the people. It's about getting information and passing it on to the legitimate authority that can use it to enhance security. So the two of them, the two are not in any way contradictory. They are rather reinforcing. They will rather help to achieve the desired security in not only in the Southeast, but if applied beyond all over Nigeria.
Saying that this is way different, completely different from the community policing initiative of the police.
Well, I think you see, the real meaning of community policing is that the police is working in tandem, in close relationship with the communities they are deployed. There are no gaps. There is an excellent relationship so that the community members cannot withhold information that will help the police to execute her constitutional roles. That is what the community policing is all about. But unfortunately, it is going to be difficult to achieve community policing in Nigeria. Where there is community policing, policemen don't live in barracks. They live with the people. Policemen are an integral part of every community they are serving. Policemen are not hated, they are loved. They do not get involved in actions and inactions that will bring division, that will bring distancing from the members of the community they are deployed. There is a seamless relationship between the police. The police see the people as their own, and the community see the police as their own. No gaps.
Well,
close
I think
relationship.
Right. I think it's important, really, to help people understand what to expect from this so the lines are drawn finally. I recall last year there were a series of meetings, like I said, with the former Inspector General of Police. And I recall the governor of Ebonyi State saying that right after a virtual meeting, I think there was some disagreement with the way the police was rolling out the community police, which the Southeast governors said that they were going to support. Recall that this Southeast security outfit was in the talks last year, and it seemed as though the governors were aligning with the community policing initiative of the IGP of the Nigeria Police Force. And right after that virtual meeting, the governor of Ebonyi State said that we governors of the Southeast and our leaders were the first to accept community policing because of the beautiful ingredients of community policing the IG explained to us when we had a meeting at Enugu prior to that time, which is why I think it's important to draw a line. Is this going to be swallowed by the community policing initiative of the police specifically, or it will be different from it?
Let me just explain something. Initially, the thinking of the police concerning community policing was that the police was going to take the lead and align it with the Nigerian police structure as presently constituted. So which means that the governor was meant to be sidelined from the control of the community policing arrangement. So the governors of the Southeast rejected that arrangement and said that was not the earlier agreement they reached with the former IG. So there was an amendment, and the amendment was that the governor of the state would take control, would take charge. So based on that, the governor of Ebonyi State made that statement. So all the while, the Southeast governors were conscious of the fact that they needed to assert control, authority over the police, community policing. And that was yielded to them. And now, I want to assure you that Ebubago is going to operate separate from the community policing, but they are going to be self-reinforcing. They are going to cooperate. It's not going to be exclusive. The community policing arrangement will require Ebubago. Ebubago will require community policing. And in fact, the agencies of security in this country, they will require them to help them. And they will have information of the community that the police may not know of. So the police requires Ebubago to succeed, especially if the target is one thing, to improve security in this nation. There shouldn't be anything like contradiction. No. There shouldn't be anything like unhealthy competition. No. There should be cooperation because the aim is the same, security of this nation.
Well, General, so if you say that the governors extracted support from the security agencies, the police included, how then do we situate item 11 in the governor's communique that says Southeast governors requested the acting IGP to stop the influx of IGP monitoring units, but to allow CPs and state and zonal commands to handle their cases?
Let me tell you, the police arrangement sometimes is internally and inherently contradictory. It is not so in the Nigerian army where I served. You can't have a command that you have confidence in the commander. This time, let me be specific about police. It is the police headquarters that appointed the commissioner of police, and appointed him because he's competent, he's qualified to hold that office. And he is expected to ensure security in the state he has been appointed. Why will the same police pass vote of no confidence in the commissioner of police by sending another layer of security to come and operate in his area of responsibility without reference to the commissioner of police? Why should they impose another layer of federal team upon the it breeds confusion. It breeds nothing but security contradictions. So that will reinforce insecurity rather than help to ensure security. So I think the police needs to address this issue. Check everywhere in the world. There is no way it is happening that way. It's not happening anywhere in the world. So sometimes some of those policies are instigated by some other reasons other than enhancing the security of this nation.
Well, in order to enhance the security in the Southeast, will Ebubago wear same uniform? Will they be found in the cities as well, or will they be restricted to the outskirts?
They will be everywhere. They will wear the same uniform. They will be everywhere, especially where there is need for them to be. And like I told you earlier, they will seek total cooperation with the federal security agencies. We are not, Ebubago is not going to work as if it has an enemy. No, the security agencies are friends, and Ebubago cannot succeed without the security agencies. That is why so much cooperation will be sought from the federal security agencies. Otherwise, Ebubago will not succeed.
This is a step to state police, don't you think?
You say what?
This is a major step to achieving the much talked about state police.
State police will come with constitutional amendment, but I guess that Nigeria has nothing stopping it from establishing state police. That is one sure way of improving security of this nation overnight. State police is required, and in fact, the provision in the Constitution that confers a governor with the title, with the office of Chief Security Officer, envisages that he will have state police that he will be responsible for using to achieve that constitutional responsibility. I think we should stop at nothing to ensuring the establishment of state police. We require it today more than we have ever needed it. And I think that the National Assembly should go for it. The federal government should go for it. Every right-thinking Nigerian should go for it.
You know, at different times in our nation's political history, the army, the police, security agencies have at one time or the other been accused of meddling with elections. How do we guarantee or ensure that Ebubago is not used for political purposes?
Well, it is a systemic problem. The federal security agencies are used to meddle with elections. So if we are not afraid of that, why should we be afraid that the regional security outfits or state police will be used for that same purpose? We need to improve on the stability of our institutional culture. When we get our institutional culture right, all those kind of things will come to an end. But in the interim, what is in the front burner in this nation is issue of insecurity. And what we require to address insecurity is we need state police. We need some other arrangements. I have said before that this nation does not have internal security doctrine. We need it for us to be sure that everybody is doing what he ought to do to ensure security of this nation. And when there is insecurity as we have it now, we should be able, where we have a coherent and operational internal security doctrine, we should be able to know the institution that is not doing its work, and then we know where to pass the buck.
All right, then Major General Obi Umahi, former GOC 81 Div and Chairman Southeast Security Committee, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some feedback coming through. Who's going to take the first shot?
Well, Henry Ewunono clearly is the first to sending a message this morning. And this is how it starts. Of course, he's talking about Ebubago. The tiger splendor of awe.
The tiger splendor or
Yeah. Cut your tongue?
Or the tiger cut your tongue.
Well, the tiger splendor or will work when that tiger is well nourished, nurtured, properly supervised, and provided an enabling environment to dominate. If starved, frail and helpless, even lizards and pigeons could scare it stiff. Interesting.
So is Ebubago, is it lion or tiger? Generally, you asked that a list. A tiger.
It's tiger. That's why he just read it.
Okay. I thought I saw some
That's why you
some
wondering if he
referencing.
cut his tongue.
Fear of a lion as opposed to a tiger, but I know, you know.
Okay.
What's in the name?
I guess that clears the air. Well, Professor Nakena is still tweeting about the Southeast security, the Bubagu solution, saying hopefully this regional outfit behavior is devoid of consistent nationwide trend of law enforcement agents who, believing they can operate with complete impunity, engage in unprofessional, discourteous, ethnically biased, and sometimes deadly abuses of powers.
So hopefully they don't want to see these things
At all.
with all these other ones. Well, Olagmunju says, the concept of security is evolving. So the establishment of Bubagu is a regional security outfit is a welcome idea. However, how are they planning to fund it? Because states find it difficult to pay salaries of civil servants as well as providing human security.
Big question, gentlemen, really big question. And I don't know if they have been able to say very clearly how the funding of that particular agency will go. Well, is it an agency now? Security outfit will go. But look at this messages now from Iwedike Osedume talking about the FG NAD meeting outcome. He says, I pray this time around federal government honors her agreement with NAD and stop embarrassing this country with their I don't care attitude. It's a sad reality that doctors who are frontline essential workers are not well taken care of in Nigeria. A real sad one. And Ako Omodu says, it is disheartening to note that the National Association of Resident Doctors would have to embark on a strike action before they get the ordinary things that resident doctors, house officers deserve as of right. These things must be taken seriously. We can't continue like this. And I think a lot of people will agree with that. For me, you know, when you talk about strikes ending all, this strike ending all strikes, you know, I don't think it has been achieved just yet. Let us hope that maybe by the end of the month, we should be able to see further progress being made. But we thank you for your comments. Thank you for everything that you've done watching this program this morning. Well, Green Yusuf.
Well, I'm Kayode Okikiolu.
I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a good day.
I'm Chain Balanusa. See you next time.